people lose their faith because heaven shows them too little? But how many people lose their faith because heaven shows them too much?
Welcome to the Going North podcast, where we will deliver you tips and techniques to advance yourself and anything you decide to do in life. I am your host, Brightmon, and every Thursday I will interview authors, especially self-published ones from various walks of life, who will deliver you information and inspiration to help you charge forward. On a quick side note, be sure to check out my book, Going North, on Amazon.com. It's available on ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we have, you guessed it, another author, but not just any author. We have a person who is not only an author, but she's also a health and wellness coach, and she's also the owner of the Sword of Truth Coaching. She was born in the mountains of Italy, and she was raised in the city of Baltimore. She is also a minister, and she was licensed back in 2011 as a minister, and she developed a focus for substance abuse and deliverance. And she's also has the gifts of intercessory prayer and healing. So you're going to hear some good talks about faith on this episode of the Going North podcast. And some of you are wondering, who is this wonderful lady I'm talking about? I'm talking about the wonderful Maria Angelucci. How are you today, ma'am?
Well, I am well, and thank you so much for asking. It's wonderful to be on your show. I'm looking forward to whatever it is I can share.
Oh, yes, because sharing is caring.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You said a mouthful there. You can't even begin to share unless you care.
Oh, this is going to be great. Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So mind filling in the gaps where I may have missed some things with the introduction?
Some gaps. Last Days on Earth is my first book. Another one is on the back burner right now, but it is coming. It's going to be called The Process. But Last Days on Earth, when people hear about that, they think of things like Armageddon and Left Behind and that kind of thing. That is not what this is about. What this is about is my personal discovery that we are all living our last days on Earth. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. We really do need to think about, what type of life we're living and what is it that, we're doing here, things of that nature, the what, when, why, and how kind of thing. And we really do need to stop for a moment and assess that and think about it. And, are we having fun? Are we doing this life with some joy? Or is it just an obligation? So my discoveries were in a 3-year period of time in my life when I had come to a place where I wanted more answers and fewer questions. And I went after them like a hound dog. I wanted to know the why, what, when, and how of my life. And who really am I? Really? Am I this person that I think I am? Why am I not living in sync with what I envision my life to be? So I don't think it's anything that is unusual for any other person to think about. I just took it to the next step and wrote about it because I think that everybody has at least one good story in them, and they either need to tell it or write it so that they can share it with other people. Now, as far as filling in the blanks about me as a writer and a health coach, yes, I am a health coach. That is what evolved out of my searching for who I was created to be and what I needed to be doing. I was always involved with health professionally. I worked in healthcare for many years. in doctor's offices, managing, doing physician assisting, working on the health insurance end. But I really liked working with people one-on-one. So I had something very profound happen to me. As a minister, I really got to a place where I hungered for God so much that I learned that I could hear him. And I know that sounds strange to some people, but for those that hear him, that doesn't sound strange at all, because we can all hear him if we listen. Problem is we don't all listen. So when I heard him say, I want you to teach my people how to be healthy so that their faith can be increased, that got my attention, but I had no clue how to do it. And that's when I discovered there was such a thing as a health coach. And I went and did my research, and I became certified a year later. And I started reaching out to people, letting them know that I could help them in that respect. Because if you're weary and you're fatigued and you're oppressed in your mind, you really don't believe in much anything. The thing that happened after that is that I also wanted to help people with improve their health, yes, but also improve their life. And in so doing, I wanted to address other areas of their life. And you almost have to, because once you get involved with the health end, you soon discover that there may be issues in other areas, such as finance, such as work, their relational aspects of their life with other people. But I wanted to get away from being a minister. I knew that there was a spiritual end to it, and I wanted to incorporate that into the assistance that I was giving and the coaching I was giving. So to help me further with that, I discovered a program that taught biblical transformational life coaching. So I'm in the process of being credentialed with that also, where I could, once completed, I would be able to help other people become certified life coaches with this program that would bring the spiritual piece into it. Because people that, you understand?
Okay. Yeah, that's great indeed. I mean, you brought up some great points, especially with the whole spiritual piece, and not only focusing on the physical, but also the spiritual, because a lot of the problems that we see today, and you can see it on people's faces, it's coming from an inner struggle. It's not always just the outer, what you're putting into your body. I mean, sure, that's very important, what you put into your body, but it's also what you got in your body from a mental and spiritual aspect. So that's really, really important.
It is. And the thing, Dom, the thing that people do not need now is more information. We are inundated with information, but information will not produce transformation. What you need to produce transformation is an understanding of why what you do habitually is what you become. So you have to look at your habits and say, why am I doing this? You know, why is my sleep pattern off? Why am I not eating well? You know, it's the why that's happening. We already know that we need 8 hours of sleep, most of us, you know, some more, some less. We already know what foods to eat. We know all that. We know we need to exercise. We know all that. But we don't do it. So you have to look at what's stopping me from doing that, and then incorporate it into that, because what I found was that's not enough. Knowing why you're not doing that really isn't enough. You know, I get to bed late because there's not enough time in the day. Well, why isn't there enough time in the day? Every day has 24 hours. You're putting too much into that. We already know it. So why are you doing that? You know, an answer could be that you're being pressured into producing more than you need to. So whose approval are you looking for?
There you go.
You know, so when you put it in that context, we have to know that if we're living according to God's will, He's already approved of us. we don't need to seek approval from anyone else if we're living according to his will. Now, therein lies the problem. What is his will? Not a lot of people know that. People have concepts of God that could be right, could be wrong, could be incorrect, and could be incomplete. So getting them on the right page as to who God is and who he is to you plays a major part in being able to transform any aspect of your life. Because once you've broken it down to that level, now you can start building on it. A lot of it is also to undo bad learning. If you believe incorrectly, you're going to live incorrectly.
Amen. God also goes with that old saying that Jim Rohn used to say, the stuff that's easy to do is easy not to do.
That's right. That's right. And the one element that I can bring into this with what I have come to call the Sword of Truth coaching, and I call it that because the Sword of Truth is the Word of God, and that is what I refer to as absolute truth, because there's his truth, there's her truth, his truth, their truth, and there's the truth. So if you don't believe in God, well, then you start there. But you have to really uncover what the truth is and then build from there. Once you uncover what the truth is, and if you look in a dictionary, for instance, and you look for the definition of truth, it will say God. You look for the definition of God, it will say truth. So when you start from there, the element that I can bring into this that makes Sword of Truth coaching different from other coaching is that it involves the health and life coaching. And as coaching in the secular world is different than this type of coaching that I'm offering here, because as a minister gifted in healing and deliverance as well as the prophetic, I've opened myself and prepared myself on a daily basis to hear the voice of God. Remember, God is always speaking, but do we listen? And in order to listen, you have to open yourself up. You have to open that door, and you have to be prepared to really hear his voice, which means you know that he's there, and you know that what he's going to tell you is true. You can question it. It's okay to question it. I had to ask God to teach me how to trust him. So everybody starts somewhere. But once you start the process, as this applies to the coaching that is to my coaching that I give, because this was all, God's instruction for me. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I wanted to be an actress, and I was for 10 years. I was in that field. But, God has me in life coaching now and health coaching. And that's because I heard what his plan was for me and the gifts that he gave me. And the thing that I can help people with, and I really need people to hear this, is that in being able to tap into hearing about areas in people's lives that need attention or healing, because quite simply, I received the information from the creator that created that person. So then I become the mouthpiece, because who knows better than the one who created you what needs attention in your life? And then he guides me how to address it for that particular person. Now, please don't take that to mean that I can read people's thoughts. I cannot. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't want to know what you're thinking.
Oh, you don't?
I'm a sometimes.
Well, but I'm pretty sure folks want to know what trials did you have to overcome to finally get to your present, because you mentioned how you wanted to be a fashion designer in high school, and I still remember you adorning a lot of fabulous jewelry when I bought your book, and of course your acting career, as well as producing and now life coaching. So what trials did you have to overcome to finally get to where you currently are today?
Well, the biggest thing to overcome, honestly, was myself. Because there's nothing wrong with loving fashion, which I did. But the thing I liked about fashion was that it allowed me to create. There's nothing wrong with acting. But again, the common thread there was creativity. And in the gifts that God gave me, And he all made us to be creators because he is the creator. So we're going to have our Father's DNA in us. So we're all creative. But in what area are we to be, like, he gave me a particular passion. I love to put people I have compassion, and you need compassion, not just passion, but also compassion. That means that, you see something that is inappropriate, or you have empathy or pity, whatever you want to call it. You feel sorry for somebody, but it doesn't stop there. You want to do something to put them in a better place. That's compassion. And that's where my heart was. It was to really make an impact and make a difference and make people aware that there is hope. But when you lose hope, you really lose everything. And for people to be depressed and oppressed and feel helpless and feel the mediocrity of life, that is so far from the excitement and joy and ridiculous passion that God wants you to live with, because that's what he lives with. There's always more, and there's always better, and there's always higher. There's higher place. Once you've experienced a certain level of joy, that joy can go even higher. So the thing that I had to overcome was, why did I want to do all these other things when they expressed the creativity in me, but they didn't address the part of me that wanted to put a message on the big screen, so to speak, that would actually help somebody, that would leave them with leaving the theater saying, wow, I never thought of that before, and I need to change that in me because that story really touched me and it made me aware of something. But it didn't do that in the films that I was involved in and the playwrights that came to me. They were basically violence and horror and a lot of other things, but they weren't really getting a good punch of a story that would get you and that would reach you at a level where maybe something else couldn't reach you. And that's why I started writing, because I really wanted my words to speak to somebody, even if it was just a few people. It would be worth the years that it took to write my book. Because when you transform one life, you don't know how many others that one life could impact. And that's what to me, that's what it's about. And it's about also overcoming the trials in your life to find that light part of life, because oftentimes we take ourselves too seriously. Life isn't all about being serious and being so religious, some people say, or spiritual that you're no earthly good.
True indeed.
So, for instance, right now, I'm starting a drama club at my church, and I want to do things that are improvisational. So you do improv. It's like drama on an improv, because I want them to have fun. I don't want them to come home from work, which is their job, and have another obligation of now memorizing a play. You know what I mean?
Agreed. I do enjoy improv myself.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you a short story. I'm going to give you characters. And this is what I want you to accomplish with your dialogue. Now, go. And it'll be fun. And we're missing that right now because of the tragic place that the world has come to and all the chaotic things that are happening and all the devastation and the confusion. There's very little room for some really good belly laughs. And I want to get back to that. I want to get back to that in whatever I do. I want to put people back in a place where they can have their lives figured out enough that they're not going to sweat the small stuff as much as they are now. And that they're going to put their focus and prioritize their life in a way where they're going to have time for the things that life was meant for, and not for just the drudgery of the 9 to 5 and getting up and doing it all over again and then wondering, why is it so hard to spend time with spend time with my friends, and who are my friends, and wow, I don't really think I have any.
It's like, yeah, they were just here for the sunny days, not the rainy days and the hurricanes.
Right. So that is basically where I'm at right now. I had to overcome my own hurdles that I put up in my own life. I had to get myself out of the way and say, what is the higher cause here? What is the bigger picture? What is it that I'm supposed to do in this puzzle of life, so to speak? Because if I'm not in my right place, then it's not going to be right for the next person. It'll throw the whole puzzle off. You know, you ever put together a puzzle and you're just missing that one piece?
Oh, yeah, we're missing North Dakota.
Yeah, but what an amazing thing, Dom, when you discover that, yes, there actually is a creator. He's got it going on. He knows what the showtime is. He can read off the credentials anytime you want. He knows all the actors, all the players. He knows the storyline. He knows it all, and he's ready to share that with you. And he's ready to make you kick butt while you're doing it. You know, that's exciting to me. That's exciting to me to know that I don't have to do it all myself. It's not all on me. It doesn't rest on Maria's shoulders as to, I mean, I have to do my part, but I also have to know, as long as I align myself up with truth and God's will, that I cannot go wrong. And if I do, even that's okay.
Yeah.
Because greater is He that is in the world.
So for those who have clarity on what they want to do, like, for example, if they're a brand new coach and they're probably in their first year of their quote-unquote coaching business, what advice would you give to them to help them to keep going forward?
Well, as a coach, you can't ever take your client, or whatever you want to call them that you're helping, you can't ever take them any further than you're willing to go. So the level of growth that you're willing to attain for yourself is as high as you're going to take your client. You have to experience it yourself first. So what I would tell them is make sure that they are working with a coach themselves that is working on things that they need to grow in, areas that they need to grow in, so that when they're coaching other people, they already have that resolved in themselves. Because what can happen when you're starting to coach someone, if you hit upon an area that they're struggling in and you have that same struggle, you can't help them, because now that triggers your unfinished business. So you're going to have to stop, and you're going to have to go clear that out of yourself first, and then you can help that client. So I would say that you're not going to get cleared out of everything, because it's always a process. Life is a process. You're never going to be completely freed of everything before you can help somebody else. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying because you've invested in studying the skills, the transformational skills that are going to help people change their habits, because you've studied that and you really want to implement it in somebody else's life, be working on yourself alongside of working on others. It has to come to a place where you have to be willing to go. You're not telling them to go where you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're basically going with them on the ride. You're not really just giving them the keys to the car and you're like, hey, all right, go on, Ed, have fun. There's no rule book. You'll be all right.
Right. And there are certain foundational things, skills, and tools that you can put along the way. The fruit becomes evident. You know, the tree that you have grown, or the seed that you have planted that becomes a tree, will become evident when the fruit comes out. And the same thing with what you're doing. If you're not putting the right things in there, there's not going to be any fruit produced. If there's fruit produced, that relationship will end very, very badly. They won't see changes in their life because you're not giving them the right kind of tools that they need to work with in order to show positive change. Now, the other thing, I do want to mention this, the other thing that you want to do as a coach is you really want to first find out, in that first year, it's very tricky because you might be a little hungry to help people, and you might even be a little hungry for the money that might come from that client in whatever fees you're charging. So but you have to do this one thing before you even start with that client, and that is make sure you're a good fit. And for me, it's very easy because I'm going to be a health and life coach to someone who is accepting that there is a creator. His name is God. He had a son named Jesus, and let's go from there. Because everything that I'm going to teach from is going to be from that foundational truth. So if we're not in sync that way, I won't be changing up to modify to fit what you make, what are your beliefs. So you want to make sure you have a right fit. There might be some clients, even personality-wise, you're not clicking. Maybe they're not committed. You'll know that from the beginning. They might have a poor response to even keeping the first appointment. If you see that it's not, they're not committed and their level of commitment is not the same as yours, and it's okay to tell them, look, I want you to experience the highest level of transformation, the highest level of benefit that you can get from coaching, and I just don't believe I'm the right one for you for that. And it's okay to say that.
Ah, yes, honesty is always the best policy. It's so good. Most of the time.
You're right, most of the time.
Sometimes you get in with the truth, it's like, oh, darn it, what happened to my legs? Oh, I'm on the ground. It hurts so bad.
Yeah, you don't want to be too brutally honest that there's no comeback from it.
It's like, no, my hair was black. It turned gray all at once. I'm still in my 20s. What's happening?
So yeah, I think those are the two key things for first time coaching, is to make sure that you're fit and to make sure that you're constantly growing yourself so that you can take them to the next level. Always the next level, because you're willing to go to the next level yourself.
And for those who are looking to take themselves to the next level and really share their story, what advice would you give to them?
Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to share your story. And what I mean by that is don't wait for all the pieces to come together. If God has dropped that in your heart to share your story, then move on it immediately. That doesn't mean that you have to stop your whole life, but get yourself a notebook and write that first paragraph. And then tomorrow write the next paragraph. And then maybe the next day you'll be up to a whole page, and so on and so on and so on. But consistency is the key. So if you keep it consistent, eventually, what you never start, you never finish. I would say don't hesitate. Don't wait for all the answers and all the information to come together. Just start doing it. Like Nike would say, just do it.
That's right. I believe fully in putting on the Nikes metaphorically and running forward.
I think often people make the from either fear of not being able to do it or fear of the unknown. It's a lot of fear-based. The hesitancy is usually fear-based. Some people, it just could be sheer laziness. But I venture to say that I believe that too is rooted in fear. So they never get past that to actually taking the initiative, because some people really believe that they've had somewhere in their life, they've gotten the idea or the concept that they have to be perfect and whatever they do has to be perfection, and they get that confused with excellence. You want to excel at what you do. Excelling is doing the very best with what you have right then and there. That's your very best. You're excelling. It won't necessarily be perfect. So people are in fear of not being perfect in whatever it is that, they're hesitating to do. And therefore they never do it because they feel like it's got to be perfect. There is a saying that says anything worth doing is worth doing well. Well is not perfect.
Even if it's enough water?
Got one on me.
So for those who want to increase their well of knowledge, what book would you recommend for those to pick up and read, including Last Days on Earth, that they can somehow get in touch with you and snag a couple copies off of you?
Yes, they would have to get copies off of me because they're no longer in print. So, yeah, that would be one, Last Days on Earth. And I would recommend two books. One is called Secrets of the Secret Place. And that is, the subtitle is Keys to Igniting Your Personal Time with God. And the author is Bob Sorge, S-O-R-G-E. Another one is called I Am Changes Who I Am. And that is by Greg Matte, M-A-T-T-E. He's also the author of Finding God's Will. Those two books really impacted me. There's a lot of books that impacted me, but these two kind of stand out.
So those are the one with the feet, right?
The one with what?
The ones with the feet?
With the feet?
Yeah, they stand out, right?
Oh, come on! Coming. We need to laugh. We really do. Yeah, but those are two of my favorite books. There's lots of books. I would, if people could just, I don't care how you get the information in you, if it's an audiobook, if you're a Kindle fan, just don't stop, get good information. Try not to read things that don't do anything. They don't bring a smile to your face and they don't bring a thought to your mind. It's like, why you even engaging in that information? Either it has to bless you with some joy or it has to bless you with some good information. Otherwise, what good is it? So this is something good stuff, something to lighten your spirit a little bit, something to cause you to think.
That's right, even if they're bad jokes.
There's a place in heaven just for people who tell bad jokes. Did you hear that?
Oh, shoot, I'm in trouble then. Crap. Wait, heaven. Oh, wait, that's a good thing, right?
There's a club in heaven just for people that tell those one-liners and bad jokes, and they tell it to each other.
That means it'll be a grand old party then.
Exactly. A lot of controversy about heaven, but I see it quite different than a lot of people. Heaven is going to be a good place to go to. And no, we're not going to be up there just floating around in clouds and praying all the time. Right now, you want to pray so that you can get to heaven. So once you get to heaven, do you really need to be praying about that?
Kind of goes with that whole chasing the dragon thing, chasing that old high. It's like you chase for so long and you finally get it, and then you lose all energy and excitement.
Well, I would say no, don't go there, because there's lots of excitement and lots of exciting things, and I think that people are going to really be surprised at how much they're going to become more aware of the amazing things that God has for us, because He is so amazing in His love for us. I don't think that we really understand what that means, and we take it for granted. And we think it's human love. It's not. I keep saying and stressing the laughter and the lightness, because that is a lot of what God wants us to have in our lives. He didn't make us to be heavy, to be burdened and heavy and all this pressure that we put on ourselves. That's not what He wants. And that's what we're going to come to find that out a lot more when we actually have that one-on-one with Him. And it's going to be exciting. It really is. It's going to be very exciting. But I really would welcome anyone to, if they have any questions about any kind of life coaching or anything that I have said or shared, I do have an email that you are welcome to email me with at swordoftruthcoaching@outlook.com. Again, that's swordoftruthcoaching@outlook.com. I'll be very happy to hear from you.
Sweet. So for those who want to get a nice outlook on life and surprise themselves and learn from you, what advice would you give to yourself if you were 25 in 2018?
I was 25 in 2018.
That's right. You're now a millennial.
Okay. The advice I would give to myself: don't allow others' opinions of me define who I am. To know who I am and to trust the God that's in me and get to know him so that he can guide me. And then I'll have my confidence and I'll know what direction to go in. I would say you need to find out more about the truth of life rather than what people are telling you. Question more what people are telling you. Don't take it as always the truth. Search for the truth and seek it out. And don't stop until you find it. Make that a priority. That's what I would tell my younger self. Isn't there a song like that?
Oh, there probably is.
There is. It says, Dear Younger Self. That's what it's called. But that's what I would do. I would start to seek out the how, what, when, where, and why earlier in life. And don't be so quick to believe what everybody tells me. But to seek it and search it out for myself with the help of God.
That's right. So when they talk about higher calling, they don't mean call a pothead. They mean something bigger than that, right?
Yes, because when I thought that you had to wait to be called, when somebody said, oh, God called you to do that, I'm going to mess with some people's theology right now, because if you were born into this earth, you've been called.
Oh, shoot, even Tyrone. Oh, man.
There you go. You were born, that means you were called. Now, if you respond to the call and come to certain awarenesses of what you need to do, now you can fulfill your purpose and your destiny. But you've certainly been called from the day you were born, or else God wouldn't have put you here.
Ah, very true indeed. Wise words spoken indeed. So those who want to get in contact with you, I know you gave out your wonderful email later. Is there any other way we can get in touch with the wonderful Maria Angelucci and get some angel-like goodness?
Well, you can also do a search on Facebook for Sword of Truth Coaching, and I welcome your messages there on Facebook. I put up videos on my Facebook page, Sword of Truth Coaching, and I put up an introduction. I'll be adding more videos as I go about various topics and various ways. I don't believe in just being a face-to-face coaching, although I love to do that. But I'd also like to share information, because oftentimes people can be helped with just the viewing of a video or hearing a few words. I want to impart as much as I can into people's lives, however they can receive it. Not everyone has the time or the funds to hire a health or life coach, but they can certainly glean some information if they want to from a posting that I've placed, or maybe a book that I've written. So I welcome them to also search me out on Facebook, Sword of Truth Coaching.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to learn how to be a samurai, a swordsman, a knight, and get that sword of truth, this is the gal to talk to right here. Any timeline on when The Process is coming out, book number 2?
That won't be until next year. Because this year I'm really focusing on getting this coaching completed, or I wouldn't say completed, but I want to complete my credentialing and get some coaches out there, get them started. That's part of what they also call discipleship, or, sharing what you know with somebody else, because, what good is it if you know something if you're not teaching somebody else what you know so that they can also do it? I mean, that's what we learn in everywhere. You have to be of service to somebody else. So, anyone that would want to do that would be certainly welcome. Absolutely.
Sweet. So 2019, be on the lookout for that book called The Process, while Maria is gathering up her special elite squad of ministries and healers and coaches to get out there and give you all the sword of truth.
Yes, and I want to thank you for having me. again, it's been an honor and a privilege to be speaking on any platform that will influence other people. So I thank you. You're doing some really great work that way. God's using you in a very powerful way, both with your book, with the platform that He's giving you with your blog, and with all the aspirations and advancements that you're having through Toastmasters. I know that we didn't touch on that, but when I was part of Toastmasters, it really brought a lot to my life, and I would welcome anybody to explore that as well. There's lots of, anything that will help you to grow and share is something that everyone should be encouraged to do. So I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity. And I want to say God bless you in all your endeavors.
Woohoo! Thanks a bunch, Maria. Thanks a bunch for your listening ears on the Going North podcast. I hope you really, really enjoyed that episode. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family, especially those who love podcasts and love listening to some inspiration and motivation. And keep a lookout for the sequel to Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself in October 2018. And if you'd like to connect with me directly, feel free to shoot me an email at dombrightmon@gmail.com. Make the rest of your week the best of your week.